Hello friends, followers, channel members, welcome back to the channel. So many of you will probably already be aware that FSLabs, a company who used to produce high quality aircraft add-ons for P3D and FSX, have decided they are going to enter the market with Microsoft Flight Simulator, and they will be releasing an Airbus A321 CEO variant for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Now, the first thing many of you will probably have thought is, great, another Airbus coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator in what is already quite a saturated market, Airbus A320 wise. But what I want to look at in this video today is the history FSLabs have had over the past few years. If you are a veteran flight simmer, then you will of course have heard of Flight Sim Labs and the fantastic add-ons they had available years ago. The Concorde in particular was a brilliant aircraft, so technical, and even the A320 family that they had for P3D is also trusted by many over the Phoenix A320 in terms of its realism. So we're talking about real high quality aircraft that these guys produce. Very realistic, and certainly would be classed as study level add-ons that feel alive in the simulator. And if you have been around the world of flight simulation for a while, you probably know that the company has had quite a checkered past. But for those of you who are brand new to flight simulations, if you've just come in with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 or even more recently Flight Simulator 2024, then there is perhaps a little history that we should be aware of. Now, the purpose of this video is just to give you a history of what has happened with the company in the past. I'm not here to tell you what is right, what is wrong, basically just to provide you with the facts and then leave you to make up your own minds. I would, however, love to hear from you guys by leaving a comment down below regarding the FSLabs story as we go through it today. And if you have also flown their products, just how good they are, and if you can compare them to the Phoenix or the tallest A320 family of aircraft, would love to hear your views on those as well. So, as we've already said, Flight Sim Labs are a aircraft developer company that created very, very high quality study level aircraft for both P3D and FSX. They were so high quality that they also charged quite a lot of money for these. If you thought the Phoenix or PMDG were expensive, well, this aircraft was another level. At the moment, for the A320 in P3D, you're looking at $150. For FSX, it's $100 plus taxes. So it's a very high price tag, but people didn't mind paying this price because you really were getting what you paid for. No arguments there. For those going through a type rating, for example, this was the aircraft add-on to have because it would literally mimic its real-world counterparts. It runs on the PC with an external app in the background, a little bit like the Phoenix, so for those of you hoping that their add-on for Flight Sim 2020 will come to Xbox, I don't think that is going to be possible. So FSLabs was enjoying a huge period of success. However, early 2018, the company released their Airbus A320X add-on for P3D. As imagined, this sold incredibly well. The company did very well out of it. However, there was one person who, looking through all of the files and things like that, noticed something a little bit strange with the aircraft's installation. When trying to install the aircraft, they kept triggering their antivirus software, and the antivirus software kept flagging up a file called test.exe. Now, obviously being concerned about this, the user contacted FSLabs and asked for advice. The advice from FSLabs was that you just need to disable your antivirus during the installation of the aircraft because it was just giving them a false positive. Now, in fairness, how many times have you had that happen to you? I certainly have, and even at one point with the Phoenix, you have to exclude the program from the antivirus so that it will communicate and all run seamlessly. I, of course, have no problem doing this, so done that myself, and yeah, I'm sure many of you will have had other downloads which you, of course, just deem to be safe, and we've had no problems. So that could have been the end of it. However, this user decided to do a little more digging and actually found out that that test.exe was actually a program called Chrome Password Dump. Now, that sets alarm bells ringing straight away. This program was actually designed for security purposes, and security researchers and people who were testing systems for vulnerabilities used this program to try and prevent people from stealing passwords, getting into your PC, that kind of thing. Basically, what this program did is it takes a user's autofill usernames and passwords that they have saved in Google Chrome, pops it in a text file, and then it would send that file back to FSLabs. And if that wasn't bad enough, apparently it was also completely unencrypted when it went back to the FSLabs servers. Now, I don't know about you, but I have plenty of different passwords stored in my browser. There are that many of them that we need, and we should never use the same one for everything, so it's just easier, isn't it, to have your browser save the password, and you trust that that is going to be information kept safe and nobody else has access to it. So the fact that a company was popping something in their product which would identify all of these usernames, passwords, and then send it back to said company really does set alarm bells ringing. This is essentially malware. So I'm sure you can imagine the kind of response that this got when the user sort of went public with this on various different forums like Reddit. And FSLabs, of course, needed to respond to try and protect their reputation. And their initial response was to assure customers that there were no tools used to reveal any sensitive information of any of their customers who had legitimately purchased any of their products. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. They then went on to inform their customers that pirate copies of their aircraft had been making the rounds on different illegal file sharing websites, and that one of their aircraft installations had a specific serial number that had been used by a person who was pirating their software, and that their installer would verify the serial numbers of all of the customer's installations back on the FSLabs server, and should this pirated serial number flag up on their database, they would then be able to identify it. Should that pirated serial number be identified, that is when the test executable file would be opened up, and for those customers who purchased the product legitimately, this file was never used. Now, of course, piracy of any kind is wrong. It's certainly not something we entertain here on the channel, and if users are found discussing this on our Discord forum or even on our live streams or videos, the comments and the persons involved are removed. We have to protect the developers, because without the developers, we don't get the high quality add-ons. So, of course, I do understand what FSLabs want to do. They want to stop their software being pirated, and quite rightly so. However, was installing a piece of malware software on every one of their customers' installations the right way to go about it? Probably not. Not only is it a huge risk for those who have purchased the product legitimately, they've done nothing wrong, so shouldn't really be tarnished with the same brush, but it's also quite illegal to install malware knowingly onto anybody's computer. Now, obviously this led to a huge backlash from the flight simulator community and all of their customers, after finding out that they had knowingly distributed malware to thousands of people in the hope of catching one pirate. And even though FSLabs kept on telling their customers that this file, this piece of malware, would only activate itself if the pirated serial code was discovered on a user's installation, people were obviously not going to accept that. They were concerned, of course, because anything could happen. It could still open up just via a bug or something like that, expose the usernames, passwords, and essentially breach data. And even if that data had been sent back to the FSLabs servers and wasn't even touched, what if FSLabs themselves got hacked? This file was being sent back to FSLabs unencrypted, so if anyone hacked into the FSLabs servers, they were going to get all of their customers' passwords, usernames, etc. that they had stored in their Chrome browser. A really serious mess could be on their hands. So confidence in FSLabs aircraft and add-ons just fell away to its lowest point, and the consumers, of course, were quite against the company taking to the internet, voicing their opinions, and potentially quite rightly so as well. This meant, of course, then that all the heat on FSLabs had to die down, which inevitably, given time, that's exactly what happened. But the story doesn't end there. Remember, I said this all kicked off at the start of 2018. Well, midway through that year, once everything had died down a little bit, another user found a new file. This file was a command host executable file, and that led to people wondering what this file did, because this file was being installed in the Windows system directories. And why did FSLabs need to install things into a user's system level files? Once again, users started reporting issues with their flight simulator startups being prevented by various different antivirus software, and when contacting FSLabs again regarding this file, FSLabs said that this was a file that was to do with a part of their e-commerce partners activation system. Basically, again, it was there to prevent fraud. Now, there were no obvious signs of malware this time. However, of course, by now, people who had been burnt once didn't want to take that chance, and people stopped purchasing software from FSLabs for fear of safety. Users of their aircraft once again took to the social platform Reddit and started writing their experiences, and then FSLabs decided to send a letter from their legal team to Reddit to tell them to remove all of the topic discussions. Well, of course, Reddit just simply disregarded this, and that didn't happen. When FSLabs failed with Reddit, they then contacted the popular flight simulation website FS Elite, who had ran articles on their products, of course, and a lot of the comments on their articles were, as you can imagine, quite negative. So FSLabs wrote to FS Elite demanding that all of their comments were removed. Of course, again, this didn't happen. Next, FSLabs demanded that FS Elite pass on all of the users' information who had left the negative comments, and that, for me, seems incredibly ridiculous. Of course, FS Elite are not going to pass on people's details who left comments on their articles, again, just for basic data protection and protection of their readers and users. And FSLabs' basic reason for asking and making all of these demands was because everything that was said about them was libelous. Now, I'm no lawyer, but libel is only a case where things are said that aren't true, and sadly in this case everything that had been said regarding the malware installations was true, so technically the truth had been told. Now, after much toing and froing between FS Elite, Reddit, FSLabs, various different users, etc., nobody was ever sued, and everything was basically just left alone, which in fairness is probably the right outcome. The only people that win in those legal battles are, of course, usually the lawyers. Now, of course, all of this happened many years ago, and the fact that FSLabs have now announced that they're coming into the world of Microsoft Flight Simulator, you know, it can only be a good thing. And as I've never had the opportunity to fly an FSLabs aircraft, I am personally really looking forward to it. Do I agree with the practices that they use to try and stop piracy? No. But do I agree with stopping piracy? Of course I do. Essentially, I think this whole thing could have been handled better, and I for one hope that FSLabs certainly have learnt from their mistakes in the way they went about doing things, and I don't ever expect those mistakes to be repeated, and therefore allowing for their reputation to build again as one of the best aircraft add-on creators in the world of flight simulators. Now, as I said at the start of this video, I would love to hear what your thoughts are moving forward. Will you go ahead and buy their releases for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020? obviously this happened, it's gone, it's in the past. What happens in the future remains to be seen, but definitely would love to hear your thoughts and comments regarding this. And also, if you have had the chance to compare FSLabs with, say, the Taurus and the Phoenix aircraft, which ones do you prefer? Which ones do you find the most realistic? Very interested to hear about that. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and of course, if you have, please don't forget to leave a like. And of course, if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss any of our future videos and of course our live stream flights. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all again in our next one. Bye bye for now.